Have you ever looked up at the stars and wondered if we are truly alone? What if I told you that ancient myths might hold the key to a story far grander and more mysterious than we ever imagined? A story of gods who came from the sky, not as divine spirits, but as flesh and blood beings. Today, we're diving deep into the enigmatic world of the Anunnaki. The tale begins thousands of years ago, etched into the clay tablets of ancient Sumer in what is now modern-day Iraq. These texts, some of the oldest writings known to humanity, speak of powerful beings who descended from a distant planet called Nibiru. The name Anunnaki itself means something like those who from heaven to earth came. But when did they arrive? And more importantly, why? According to the translations of scholars like Zechariah Sitchin, the Anunnaki first set foot on Earth around 450,000 years ago. Their mission was not one of conquest or exploration in the way we might think. They were on a rescue mission for their own world. Nibiru's atmosphere was deteriorating, and they needed one specific element to save it: gold. Not for wealth, but for its unique properties. They believed that by pulverizing gold into a fine dust and seeding it into their upper atmosphere, they could repair the damage and shield their planet. And Earth, as it turned out, was rich in this precious metal. Their first settlement, Eridu, meaning home in the faraway, was established in southern Mesopotamia. This was their base of operations, their command center. From here, they began the arduous task of mining gold, initially in the Persian Gulf and later, more extensively, in southeastern Africa. The early Anunnaki leaders, figures like Enki, the brilliant scientist, and his half-brother Enlil, the commander, oversaw this massive undertaking. But what was life like for these celestial visitors? The texts describe them as giants, long-lived and incredibly advanced. They didn't live in caves. They built magnificent cities. They wore garments described as shining or brilliant, suggesting advanced materials, and consumed specially prepared foods, including a bread of life and water of life, that sustained their longevity. They navigated our world using what the tablets call skyships, or whirlwinds, vehicles that could traverse vast distances with ease. Imagine a world where ancient cities hummed, not with the sound of carts, but with the whisper of advanced technology. However, the labor was grueling. The Anunnaki, who were tasked with mining the gold, eventually grew weary and rebelled against their leaders. The toil was too much, the conditions too harsh. This crisis led to one of the most controversial and world-changing events in their story: the creation of humankind. The story goes that Enki, the chief scientist, proposed a solution. Using their advanced knowledge of genetics, they would create a primitive worker, a Lulu, by engineering the existing hominids on Earth. By mixing their own Anunnaki essence with the DNA of early humans, they created a new being, Homo sapiens. We were, in essence, engineered to be their workforce, designed to take over the burden of mining gold. This is a radical reinterpretation of our own origins, suggesting that the missing link in human evolution might not be a link at all, but a leap guided by an extraterrestrial hand. As human populations grew, the Anunnaki's relationship with their creation became more complex. The tablets tell of Anunnaki males taking human females as partners, blurring the lines between gods and mortals. These unions produced offspring, the demigods of myth and legend, figures like Gilgamesh, who was said to be two-thirds god and one-third man. Family structures among the Anunnaki themselves were often fraught with rivalry and politics, especially between the royal lines of Enki and Enlil, a celestial soap opera that had profound consequences for humanity. Their children were educated in the ways of the gods, taught writing, mathematics, and astronomy in special schools within the temple complexes. What did they leave behind? Beyond the genetic imprint on humanity, their legacy is allegedly all around us, hidden in plain sight. Proponents of this theory point to megalithic structures like Stonehenge, the pyramids of Giza, and Pumapunku in Bolivia. The precision, the sheer scale, and the astronomical alignments of these sites, they argue, are impossible for ancient people to have achieved with primitive tools. Could these be the remnants of Anunnaki construction, their power plants, their observatories, their spaceports? The Sumerian king list, for example, details reigns of kings lasting for tens of thousands of years. Impossible for humans, but perhaps not for long-lived beings from another world. They gave humanity the foundations of civilization: agriculture, law, mathematics, and a complex understanding of the cosmos, including knowledge of planets beyond Saturn, which we only rediscovered with modern telescopes. But if they were here, where did they go? The story takes another dramatic turn with the event of the Great Flood, a story that appears in cultures all over the world. According to the Sumerian version, the commander Enlil grew frustrated with the noise and chaos of the burgeoning human population. He decided to wipe the slate clean with a cataclysmic flood and swore the other Anunnaki to secrecy. However, Enki, the creator and protector of humanity, defied the order. He secretly warned a loyal human, known as Ziusudra in Sumerian and Noah in the Bible, instructing him to build a large boat to save himself, his family, and the seed of all living things. After the floodwaters receded, the Anunnaki were faced with a devastated planet and a tiny remnant of the human race they had created. It was a turning point. They decided to re-establish civilization, granting humanity kingship and the tools to govern itself. But their direct involvement began to wane. The text suggests that, over millennia, most of the Anunnaki returned to Nibiru. Their planet's atmospheric crisis had presumably been solved, or perhaps their long sojourn on Earth was simply over. The last traces are whispers in our oldest stories. Figures like Marduk, who rose to prominence in Babylon, and Thoth, the Egyptian god of wisdom, are seen by some as later Anunnaki, who remained on Earth, guiding humanity from the shadows. The final departure is not marked by a single event, but a gradual withdrawal, a fading of the gods into myth. They left, perhaps around the 2nd millennium BCE, leaving humanity to chart its own course, but forever marked by their celestial touch. They disappeared back into the heavens from whence they came, promising one day to return when Nibiru's orbit brings it close to Earth once more. So, is the story of the Anunnaki a forgotten chapter of our history, a coded account of our true origins, or is it simply a creation myth, a powerful metaphor created by our ancestors to explain the world around them? The evidence is tantalizing, etched in clay and stone, a puzzle stretching back to the dawn of time. The questions remain. Who are we? Why are we here? And are we destined to one day meet our makers again? The truth, as they say, might be out there, or it might be buried deep within our own past, waiting to be rediscovered. What do you think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Is this history or mythology? Thanks for joining me on this incredible journey today. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next exploration into the world's greatest mysteries.